Hey guys, it is Info Girl. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about Credit Fresh. And honestly, this is one of those products that a lot of people find when they're running out of options. Maybe you've been denied for a traditional loan. Maybe your credit score isn't where you want it to be. Maybe you're dealing with collections. Maybe you have had late payments. Maybe you've even been through a bankruptcy like I did. And now you're looking for a way to access the money when traditional lenders are saying no. That's exactly why Credit Fresh gets so much attention. But before you apply, there are some things you should absolutely need to understand because this is not a traditional personal loan. This is not a credit card, and it's definitely not free money. Today, we're going to break down what Credit Fresh is, how it works, the credit score requirements, application process, how much money you may qualify for, the fees and costs, the pros and cons, who should use it and who should avoid it, in my honest opinion. Make sure you watch until the end because I'm going to tell you whether I will personally use Credit Fresh if I was rebuilding my credit all over. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Before we talk about Credit Fresh, I want to tell you all something. There was a time in my life when my credit wasn't that good. It was actually very terrible. I went through situations that were outside of my control. Bills had piled up, stress had piled up, and eventually I did file a bankruptcy. Now, I know bankruptcy gets a bad reputation. People hear the word and automatically think you are a failure. But, honey, that was not me. Bankruptcy gave me the chance to breathe again. It gave me the chance to start all over. After bankruptcy, my credit score was in the low 400s. I remember feeling embarrassed. I remember getting denied. I remember wondering if anyone would ever approve me again. And that's why I understand why products like Credit Fresh catches people's attention. When traditional lenders keep saying no, you're willing to look at other options you may have never considered before. That's why these conversations are important. Let's start with the basics. Credit Fresh is not a personal loan. A lot of people make that mistake. Credit Fresh is a line of credit. What's the difference? With a traditional loan, you borrow a lump sum, you receive the money, you make the payments, the balance goes down. With a line of credit, you're approved for a credit limit, you borrow only what you need. As you repay it, your available credit may become available again. Think of it almost like a credit card, except it works differently than a traditional credit card. That's one reason some people like it. You don't necessarily have to borrow the entire amount available. You can access funds as needed. Let's talk about who typically looks into Credit Fresh. Usually, it's people who have less than perfect credit, need emergency funding, have been denied elsewhere, needs quick access to cash, are rebuilding after financial hardships. Now, this doesn't automatically mean approval, but this is generally the type of consumers who starts researching Credit Fresh. And honestly, I've had subscribers ask me about this product for years because when people feel stuck financially, they start searching for other options. Now, let's talk about credit scores. One thing I've always tell people, be careful when somebody online says you need a 550, you need a 600, you need a 650. Most lenders don't publish exact credit score requirements, and Credit Fresh does not publicly advertise a specific minimum credit score. Your approval depends on your income, your existing debt, your credit history, your payment history, your state's availability, and your overall application profile. Could somebody with fair credit qualify? Possibly. Could somebody with a challenge credit qualify? Possibly. That's why there is no magic number. The entire credit profile matters. Now let's talk about the application process. This is usually one of the biggest questions people have. The application is generally completed online. You typically provide your name, your address, your social security number, your employment information, your income information, and your banking information as well. The company then reviews your application. If you're approved, you'll receive details regarding your available credit amount and your account terms. Now remember, being approved doesn't automatically mean you should borrow. Always understand the terms before accepting any financial product. Now, let's talk about what everybody wants to know. How much money can you actually get with Credit Fresh? Because let's be honest, nobody watches a Credit Fresh video and skips this section. Everybody wants to know, how much can I get approved for? According to Credit Fresh, approved lines of credit can range from as little as $500 all the way up to $15,000, depending on your qualifications, state income, and overall financial profile. Now, before everybody gets excited and starts thinking they're automatically getting approved for $15,000, that's not how lending works. The lender is going to look at multiple factors, including your income, your existing debt, your payment history, your banking information, your overall ability to repay, and your complete application profile. The truth is, not everybody gets the maximum amount. Some people may qualify for a smaller amount, and that's okay. Others might qualify for a larger amount. It all depends on the individual application. But seeing a potential line of credit up to $15,000 definitely gets people attention, especially when many rebuilding credit cards start with limits of only a few $100s. Now, here's something important. Just because you're approved for a certain amount doesn't mean you should borrow the entire amount. One of the biggest financial mistakes people make is confusing available credit with money they should spend. Those are two completely different things. If you're approved for $5,000, that doesn't mean you need to use $5,000. If you're approved for $10,000, that doesn't mean you need to spend $10,000. The smartest borrowers usually only use what they actually need and create a plan to repay it as quickly as possible. Because at the end of the day, borrowing money isn't easy. Paying it back is the part people need to think about before they ever accept this offer. And that's why the next section is probably the most important part of this entire video. Let's talk about the fees and the cost and what people completely overlook before applying. This is the section I want everybody to pay attention to because this is where people get into trouble. Too many people focus on approval, not enough people focus on the cost. Whenever you're considering any line of credit, ask yourself, how much will this cost me? What are the fees? What happens if I carry a balance? What happens if I only make the minimum payment? These are important questions because borrowing money isn't just about getting approved. It's about understanding the total cost of borrowing money. And honestly, this is where many people make mistakes. They focus on getting the money today instead of thinking about how would they repay it tomorrow or the next day after that. Let's talk about the pros and the cons. The pros is flexible access to funds. It's better than a traditional loan, may have helped people who have had limited options, availability to draw funds when you need it. Now, the con, borrowing can become expensive, easy to become dependent on credit, not a long term financial solution, can create additional debt if not managed carefully. And that's why it's important to understand exactly what you're signing up for. So would I personally use Credit Fresh? Here's my honest answer. If I was facing a true emergency and had exhausted better options, I would consider it, but I would not treat it like free money. I would not use it for shopping. I would not use it for vacation. I would not use it for things I don't need. I would view it as a financial tool. And tools can either help you or hurt you depending on how you use them. That's the truth. Now, I want to hear from you all. Have you ever used Credit Fresh? Would you consider applying, or would you choose a different option? Drop it down below in the comments. I read every single comment. I love you guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.